Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and in today's video, we're going to be going over the top 10 rear-wheel drive American V8 powered cars for less than $10,000. We did a video not too long ago where it was rear-wheel drive JDM cars, and I was like, people were like, oh, you should do this, but with German cars. And I was like, okay, I will. Psych. I'm doing it with American first, and then we'll do it with German cars, of course. We'll do rear-wheel drive cars specifically. This time it's even more specific, though, because not only is it rear-wheel drive in American, but it's also rear-wheel drive American and V8s. Because, I mean, if you're going to buy a rear-wheel drive American car, chances are you want the V8 version of it. So without further ado, let's get right into it with number 10. And that honor goes to the Chevy Corvette C4. And no, I am not talking about the explosive that people sometimes put on trucks and things and blow it up. I'm not talking about that. I'm actually talking about the 4th generation of the Chevy Corvette, which is definitely the least popular generation, but that's good news for you if you want one, because they're one of the only generations that are under $10,000. They come with a 5.7-liter V8, making 225 horsepower in its rear-wheel drive. I do want to say, however, this was in the 80s and part of the 90s as well, and so yes, this one does have 225 horsepower, but it really just depends on the year. It's weird. For some reason, American muscle cars of like the 80s, 70s, that era, they just changed the horsepower like every single year. They changed things about the car every single year. So it's just be sure you know which one you're actually getting. 225 is just like a number that I found for one specific year. Ninth place is going to a quite obvious one, and people feel like this is like the American S13 in the sense that people think it's way more expensive than it actually is. It's the Ford Mustang GT Fox Body. Yes, Fox Body Mustangs are getting up there in price for sure. They're not cheap anymore like they used to be, but they're not expensive either, you know. I mean, if you want like a perfect example of one, then yeah, but chances are you don't care about that. The car comes with a 5-liter V8 making 205 horsepower in its rear-wheel drive. Same thing I said with the C4 Corvette applies to this one, though. It depends on the year and depending on the horsepower it makes, but the 5.0 Mustangs have been here since the dawn of time, and they will be here until the end of time, I hope, at least. And the Fox Body is obviously a very popular generation, but not for the engine anyways. I wouldn't really care too much about the horsepower that the engine produces. Most people just take a Fox Body and swaps it with an LS anyways. So if that's what you're planning on doing, who cares, obviously? If you buy a 1988 and it's got 2 horsepower, who gives a hootenary, you know what I'm saying? 8th place. However, by the way, I forgot to mention this with like why they're even on the list. I just kind of talked about like what to do with them, which makes no sense. But the reason why the C4 Corvette is on the list is even though it's not popular, it's still a really good race car. And the reason why the Mustang is on the list is because even though it is getting up there in price, it's still a good option for drag racing. Either way, though, number 8 is a Chevy Camaro Z28 3rd generation, which comes with a 5.7-liter V8, making 245 horsepower in its rear-wheel drive. Same thing applies again. This is another 80s muscle car. The horsepower numbers change depending on the year that you get it. I've always loved the 3rd gen Camaros. I know that they don't have the best motor. I know that a lot of drug dealers drive these around for some reason. I know that some people might not think they look that great. I disagree. I think they look incredible. I don't think many drug dealers drive these around. Just kidding. They definitely do. But they're awesome cars. They're really good cars. And yeah, the motor's not the best. It's not a big block and it's not an LS. So, you know, it's not the best Chevy motor out there. But again, you could always swap it, baby. 7th place, however, is just incredible. And I bet you guys didn't think this was going to be on the list because you probably forgot that it has a V8, but it's the Ford Crown Victoria. Yeah, Ford Crown Vics managed to make it onto every single one of my lists. They just do. They're just always there for whatever you need, man. They're just an absolute bargain. Smack me in my teeth and call me Beaver deal. The car comes with a 4.6-liter V8, making 235 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. Now, it is here at the number 7 spot for the reasons that are as follows. I don't think they're that cool. I know, I'm sorry. I love them. They're good cars. They're incredibly reliable and everything like that. But I like when my cars look really cool and stuff like that. It's just a personal preference thing. And I've never really cared too much about the looks of a Crown Vic. That's obviously just personal preference, though. If you like them, they're an incredible car. Reliable, decent power, can make a little bit more power if you want it to, but it also has 4 doors. Place is going to the Chevy Impala SS 7th generation, or the 90s Impalas, the ones that were all, do you remember the Jumanji movie and how that Impala got crushed, the real Jumanji movie, and then the Impala got crushed and dragged into the woods? That generation of Impala. The car comes with a 5.7-liter V8 making 260 horsepower in its rear wheel drive, which means that the rear wheels are the ones that are moving the car. Anyways, 5.7 liter V8 is becoming a common trend here in all Chevy cars, and it makes sense. They're kind of like the 5.0s, right? They're just slapping them into everything. There's same thing applies with the Crown Vic to this one, really. It's pretty much just is an earlier Crown Vic made by Chevy, though. They were used as police cars because they're reliable and they're decently quick. They're rear-wheel drive. They got a V8 under the hood. What else do you want me to say? I mean, they're just as good as the Crown Vic, in my opinion, slightly better because I like the looks of these ones better. Fifth place is the Crown Vic, but on steroids, because it's the Ford Mustang GT New Edge. Yeah, these cars are so similar. Well, obviously not so similar, but pretty freaking similar to the Ford Crown Vics. But just, in my opinion, just slightly better in every single way. And I think most people will agree, if you're watching this video, chances are you're watching this video because you like muscle cars. And so I think you'd like this one better. But either way, it comes with a 4.6 liter V8, making 235 horsepower. And it is rear-wheel drive. I say 235, but I feel like I'm wrong there. I think that the New Edge Mustangs, they make 260 if I'm not mistaken. So I'll have it on the screen. It'll say the correct number. But either way, I'm pretty sure it's 260 horsepower. Either way, yeah, they have the same motor as the Crown Vics. They're rear-wheel drive like the Crown Vics, but these are coupes, you know. So if you need the 4 doors, then obviously get the Crown Vic. But these are muscle cars, so there are going to have more race car parts on them than a Crown Vic. So if you don't need the 4 doors and you just want to go fast, definitely look at buying a New Edge Mustang. It's a much better deal than the Crown Vic. Fourth place is going to the car that gets hated on for absolutely no reason, in my opinion. The Chevy Camaro SS 4th generation. Yes, the car looks slightly like a catfish. But why is that a bad thing? Catfishes aren't ugly. I like catfishes. I like catching them. It's really cool to catch a catfish, as a matter of fact. If you haven't caught a catfish, I recommend doing it. So why do people hate the 4th gen Camaro? It makes no sense. The car comes with a 6.2 liter V8, making 335 horsepower in its rear-wheel drive. Again, pretty much, I just want to make it clear. Most cars on this list, it depends on the year that you get it, depending on the power it's going to get. But like I said, this one comes with a 6.2, making 335. That's incredible. It's an LS. These are they're definitely heavier than like a Fox Body Mustang, but not by too much. I honestly don't understand why more people don't drag race these. They already have the LS in them. They're honestly, at this point, cheaper than a Fox Body. They're just incredible deals right now. Yes, they don't look the best, but they're not even that bad looking, man. Third place, the bronze medal for this list, is going to the wonderful Ford Mustang GT S197. It is just a pretty decent car. Now, chances are you're going to have to get a pre-facelift model if you're looking at one for less than 10K. The facelifted models are still a little bit over 10K. Unless you don't mind like a salvage title, then you could probably find it under 10K. But either way, they come with a 4.6 liter V8 making 300 horsepower, and they are rear-wheel drive. That is the pre-facelift. The facelift does make more power. And I think the facelift comes with a 5.0, if I'm not mistaken, not a 4.6. But either way, that's pretty decent. 300 horsepower out of the gate, 4.6 liter V8. What more do you really want? I mean, think about it this way. The 350Z also comes with 300 horsepower in its rear-wheel drive, just like this, but only has 2 seats and weighs like 5 million pounds. And this car does weigh a lot for sure, but it has 4 seats, man. Like, you could take the back seats out, cut some weight down. It's a pretty decent deal, partner. But they don't handle as good as a Z, obviously. Second place, however, is going to the wonderful Pontiac GTO, the newest GTO, not the old ones. I wish you could find an old 60s GTO for less than $5,000 or $10,000. I would have 5 of them. Probably even 10, as a matter of fact. But the new ones are still really good. I feel like people sleep on these bad boys quite often. They come with a 6-liter V8, making 400 horsepower on the dot, and it's rear-wheel drive. I love when car companies do that, man. 400 exactly. Like, yeah, man, thanks. Even if they're lying, like, let's say it makes actually 390, but they just round it up and said it makes 400. I don't even care, because it's just cooler. It's cooler to say, yeah, it makes exactly 400. Like, that's awesome. But yeah, the GTO did not die in the 60s, man. It came back in the 2000s, and even though it doesn't look super over the top, like beautiful like the earlier GTOs, it is still a good looking car, and its performance really backs it up. It's an absolute steal. I will say though, this one is one of the harder ones on this list to actually find under $10,000. It's a pretty good challenge. Honorable mention, because I wanted to include at least one truck in this list, but I felt like I was cheating you guys if I did include one truck, so I put it here as an honorable mention, because I'm going to talk about the Dodge Ram 1500 3rd generation, which comes with a 4.7 liter V8 making 240 horsepower, and it is 4x4. No, it is not the diesel. You can find Cummins under 10K if you want to, but they're probably going to have like 200,000 miles. It might not be a 3rd gen. The one thing I will say though is if you are going to look at like a truck, they're a whole different world from cars, okay? So just make sure you do your own research. As a matter of fact, these trucks in particular tend to have transmission issues, so things like that, it's like, just look out there. But I think they're a good deal for right now. They're really cheap, and yes, the transmission will give you issues sometimes, but I've looked up new transmissions, and having to, like, if you buy this truck you could buy one for like 4K with like 100,000 miles. If you buy that and then you have to replace the transmission, that's like $1,000 for that whole thing, for the price of a transmission. You change it out yourself. Now you have a $5,000 truck with a brand new transmission and 100,000 miles. Like, it's a good deal. But first place, in my opinion, the best American rear-wheel drive V8 for less than $10,000 is, as a surprise to absolutely nobody, the Chevy Corvette C5, because I talk about the C5 all the time. I freaking love the C5 Corvette, especially for its price range. It is easily my favorite Corvette, and the fact that it's under 10K makes me so happy. They come with a 5.7 liter V8, making 350 horsepower going to the rear wheels. Yes, there has been one car that made more horsepower than that in this video, and that's the GTO. But the GTO is also slightly heavier and is not built the same way a Corvette is. Corvettes are built, yes, to go fast in a straight line, but also to handle like an absolute beast, because they're race cars, they're not just drag cars. And they're just so awesome. And the C5 is, oh my god, the C5 Corvette is the coolest Corvette of all time, and I do not want to hear a single soul out there tell me I'm wrong about that. Pop-up headlights, that's the only thing I have to say. Freaking that absolutely gorgeous target top, that's the only thing I have to say. Those taillights, only thing I have to say. Like, everything about the C5 is amazing. It's got an LS in it too, so you can easily get more power out of that if you want to. My uncle has a C5 Corvette that he bought off Copart for like $4,500. It was a flood car. He bought it off Copart for $4,500. Rebuilt it up a little bit, didn't spend that much, but while he was rebuilding it, he decided to rebuild the engine and build it up. This thing, his Corvette, is going to make 800 horsepower without naturally aspirated 800 horsepower. Like, these things are incredible, man. Buy one. I take that back. Don't buy it, because I want to buy it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like you. Sorry for a very long break there, but I was trying to make another deep dive video, and then my files got like corrupted. It just only happened like 4 times in the past. Well, probably more than 4 times. It's happened not any more than 10 times though. Maybe like 7. Probably 7 or 8 times in the past. And it's always is really frustrating when that happens, because it pretty much just means every single thing that you did for that video is out the window. And most of the time, that's just the top 10. And as you guys can tell by my top 10 videos, that doesn't take the most amount of work out there. So yes, I'm frustrated, but I'm not like, no. But when it's a deep dive video, I put a lot of work, put a lot of time into making that video, and then I have to pretty much restart. The only thing I don't have to do again is the script. I don't have to write the script out again, but that's it. That's the only thing I don't have to do again. And it's just like, it just was a bummer, so I just stopped making that and decided, you know what, we're going to do this instead. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidanya, and have a nice night.